Welcome to Mysteries and Crime, where we delve into the shadows of humanity's darkest deeds. Tonight we uncover the perplexing truth behind the curious case of Natalia Grace, a story shrouded in deception and fear. Tonight's clue: was Natalia really who she claimed to be? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. In the year 2010, the Barnett family opened their home to Natalia Grace, a 6-year-old orphan from Ukraine, or so they believed. What followed was a roller coaster of suspicion, medical evaluations, and legal battles that would leave the world questioning. Who was Natalia Grace really? The first few months after Natalia's adoption seemed typical, but soon, unsettling inconsistencies began to surface. Christine and Michael Barnett claimed that Natalia's behaviors were anything but childlike. Her language was unusually sophisticated, her interests mature, and most disturbingly, her presence unnerving. Neighbors recalled seeing Natalia lurking around the property at odd hours, staring intently at those who passed by. Christine alleged that Natalia attempted to harm their other children, exhibiting violent tendencies, such as hiding knives and making chilling statements about wanting to cause them harm. Medical examinations painted an even more disturbing picture. While initial records indicated Natalia was a child, subsequent evaluations suggested she could be in her late teens or even early 20s. In the year 2013, after growing fears and mounting medical opinions, the Barnetts successfully petitioned the court to legally change Natalia's birth year from 2003 to 1989, classifying her as an adult. With their fears reaching a breaking point, the Barnetts moved Natalia into an apartment, alone. Soon after, they left the state, leaving behind more questions than answers. What followed was a whirlwind of legal disputes, media scrutiny, and a haunting question. Was Natalia Grace an innocent child, or something far more sinister? At the center of this unsettling case is Natalia Grace, a supposed child caught in a mystery that continues to haunt those involved. According to adoption records, Natalia was born in the year 2003 in Ukraine and spent most of her early years in an orphanage. Described as a petite girl with bright eyes and a soft voice, she appeared innocent, but something felt off. The Barnetts began to suspect that Natalia was far older than she claimed to be. Christine Barnett recalled moments that shook her confidence in Natalia's identity. She allegedly found signs of puberty, such as adult teeth and menstrual products hidden in Natalia's belongings. Natalia's behavior raised even more red flags. She reportedly showed an understanding of adult relationships and exhibited manipulative tendencies, often lying about her whereabouts and intentions. Former caregivers from Ukraine provided conflicting reports. Some described her as a shy, withdrawn girl, while others hinted at a more cunning side. The most chilling accusations, however, came from the Barnetts themselves. They claimed Natalia attempted to harm their family multiple times, from pouring bleach into their drinks to standing over them at night with a menacing expression. Whether Natalia was a vulnerable child with complex psychological issues or a calculated adult posing as a minor remains one of the most disturbing questions of this case. As suspicion grew, the spotlight turned to the Barnett family themselves. Were they innocent victims of a terrifying con, or had they orchestrated a bizarre cover-up to escape their parental responsibilities? Christine and Michael Barnett were once hailed as model parents. Michael, a successful engineer, and Christine, a well-known parenting author, had built a reputation for raising exceptionally gifted children. Their son Jacob, diagnosed with autism, had achieved extraordinary academic success, and their family was frequently in the media spotlight. However, their account of Natalia's behavior painted a dark and unnerving picture. Christine claimed that Natalia's actions escalated quickly. She reportedly heard Natalia whisper threats, found disturbing drawings, and even caught her attempting to push another child into an electric fence. Despite these allegations, authorities found no concrete evidence linking Natalia to actual harm. Critics of the Barnetts argued that they manipulated the legal system to rid themselves of a child they no longer wanted. Skeptics pointed to medical experts who assessed Natalia and concluded she was indeed a minor. The conflicting opinions fueled public speculation. Was this a case of parental abandonment, or had the Barnetts fallen prey to an elaborate deception? Adding to the mystery, Natalia herself denied all allegations, insisting she was a child trapped in an unimaginable situation, with both sides presenting compelling yet contradictory evidence. The truth remained elusive. The story of Natalia Grace took a disturbing turn as details of her alleged actions and the Barnetts' responses came to light. Christine and Michael Barnett recounted a series of terrifying events that led them to believe their adopted daughter was not who she claimed to be. The family alleged that Natalia exhibited increasingly erratic behavior, including attempting to harm them in ways that seemed calculated and deliberate. Christine described one of the earliest incidents, recalling how she found Natalia standing over their bed in the middle of the night, clutching a sharp object, her expression cold and devoid of emotion. The family claimed that Natalia's behavior escalated. She allegedly smeared bodily fluids on walls, threatened to stab them in their sleep, and even tried to push Christine into an electric fence during a family outing. According to the Barnetts, Natalia's demeanor would shift suddenly. One moment, she was a sweet and loving child. The next, she exhibited rage and defiance, using language far beyond her supposed years. Christine claimed that Natalia once said, "I've been doing this for a long time. You just don't know it yet." Medical professionals were called in to assess Natalia's physical and psychological state. A doctor's report from 2012 suggested Natalia's skeletal structure indicated she was much older than her documented age of 6 years. The doctor estimated her to be closer to 16 or even 20 years old. However, other medical professionals disagreed, arguing that she displayed characteristics consistent with a young child. In a shocking move, the Barnetts legally petitioned to change Natalia's birth year from 2003 to 1989, making her legally an adult at 22 years old. With this legal change, the Barnetts rented an apartment for Natalia and moved to Canada, leaving her alone to fend for herself. Law enforcement soon got involved after reports surfaced that Natalia had been left without support. Authorities charged the Barnetts with neglect, claiming that despite her reclassified age, Natalia was still a dependent individual, incapable of living independently. Investigators visited Natalia's apartment and found troubling signs: unpaid bills, scarce food supplies, and evidence that Natalia had sought help from neighbors. However, Natalia told a very different story. She insisted she was a child, abandoned by the very people who had promised to care for her. She claimed she never posed a threat to the Barnetts and was bewildered by their accusations. "I just wanted a family," Natalia later stated in an interview. I don't know why they did this to me. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they found conflicting medical records, inconsistent testimonies, and a growing number of experts weighing in with their own theories. Was Natalia truly a dangerous adult masquerading as a child, or an innocent victim caught in a web of paranoia and media frenzy? With more questions than answers, the case continued to spiral into a labyrinth of speculation and doubt. Law enforcement faced an unprecedented challenge in unraveling the mystery of Natalia Grace. Investigators approached the case with skepticism, wary of the conflicting narratives presented by both Natalia and the Barnetts. Authorities began by reviewing Natalia's medical history, consulting specialists to verify her true age. They conducted interviews with doctors who had assessed her, social workers who had interacted with her, and neighbors who had observed her behavior. Despite conflicting opinions, law enforcement struggled to establish a definitive timeline of Natalia's life before her adoption. Forensic specialists were brought in to analyze bone density scans and dental records, but these results were far from conclusive. The legal system itself posed an obstacle. Once Natalia's birth date was legally changed, law enforcement had to treat her as an adult, complicating efforts to provide appropriate social support. In the end, investigators found themselves trapped between legal loopholes and public scrutiny, unable to determine whether Natalia was a victim or a threat. The forensic aspects of Natalia's case presented unique challenges that left experts baffled. Doctors performed extensive tests, including radiographic imaging and hormone analysis, to estimate her biological age. Yet the results varied drastically. Some reports suggested she was a child under 10 years old, while others indicated she could be in her early 20s. One of the biggest hurdles in the investigation was the lack of concrete documentation from Natalia's early years in Ukraine. Without verifiable birth records, forensic specialists were left relying on inconsistent medical assessments and Natalia's own conflicting statements. Additionally, psychological evaluations raised concerns about her mental state, with some experts suggesting she suffered from developmental disorders that could have influenced her behavior and apparent maturity. Despite their best efforts, forensic teams were left with more questions than answers. Was Natalia truly older than claimed, or had the Barnetts misinterpreted the signs? As news of the curious case of Natalia Grace spread, the public response was swift and deeply divided. Many sympathized with the Barnetts, believing they were victims of an elaborate scam, tricked into adopting an adult woman posing as a helpless child. Social media exploded with theories, drawing comparisons to horror films and real-life fraud cases. On the other hand, some saw Natalia as an innocent victim of neglect and accused the Barnetts of abandoning their parental duties. Community members expressed shock and unease, with some stating they always felt something was off about the family. Fear and speculation ran rampant, and the case quickly became a national obsession. The media frenzy surrounding Natalia's case was relentless, with headlines ranging from sympathetic to outright sensationalized. Major news outlets conducted in-depth investigations, unearthing interviews with former caregivers and legal experts. Tabloids painted Natalia as a sinister figure, while investigative journalists attempted to provide a balanced perspective, examining medical reports and legal records. Television specials and documentaries emerged, each presenting their own version of the truth. The case's bizarre nature captivated audiences worldwide, with experts debating whether this was a case of adoption fraud or something far more complicated. The media's coverage only fueled public speculation, turning Natalia's story into one of the most controversial cases in recent memory. As the case unfolded, theories surrounding Natalia Grace's true identity and intentions grew more elaborate and more unsettling. One prevailing theory suggested that Natalia was indeed an adult woman with a rare form of dwarfism, allowing her to convincingly pose as a child. Supporters of this theory pointed to medical evaluations, estimating her age as far older than originally documented. They argued that her knowledge of mature topics and unusual behavior were clear signs of deception. On the other hand, skeptics believed Natalia was a misunderstood child with severe psychological trauma, thrust into a new environment without the proper care. Advocates claimed the Barnetts exaggerated her behavior to justify their decision to abandon her. A third theory emerged. Had Natalia's true background been lost in bureaucratic errors, leading to a mistaken identity that spiraled out of control? The unanswered questions only deepened the mystery. Legal proceedings against Christine and Michael Barnett began in the year 2019, with prosecutors charging them with neglect for abandoning a dependent individual. The courtroom was filled with tension as the prosecution painted Natalia as a vulnerable child left to survive on her own, while the defense maintained that she was a dangerous adult who manipulated the system. Testimonies from doctors, social workers, and Natalia herself added layers of complexity. Some professionals argued she exhibited clear signs of adulthood, while others believed she was far younger. Ultimately, the charges against the Barnetts were dismissed, with the court unable to determine Natalia's true age beyond reasonable doubt. The ruling left the public divided. Was justice served, or had a vulnerable girl been failed by the system once again? Despite the verdict, lingering questions and controversies continued to haunt the case. Even after years of investigation and legal battles, the curious case of Natalia Grace remains filled with unanswered questions. Was Natalia truly a child caught in a tragic misunderstanding, or was she an adult who masterfully deceived those around her? Despite medical tests, court rulings, and media scrutiny, no definitive answer has ever emerged. The conflicting reports, shifting narratives, and Natalia's own statements leave more questions than answers. Could a deeper investigation have uncovered the full truth? Or will the mystery of Natalia Grace remain an unsettling enigma forever? The case left a lasting impact on the local community in Indiana and beyond. Families reevaluated their trust in the adoption system, and adoption agencies faced increased scrutiny over their screening processes. Meanwhile, the Barnett's reputation was forever tarnished, with public opinion remaining sharply divided. True crime enthusiasts, psychologists, and legal experts continue to debate the case, using it as a cautionary tale of the complexities involved in international adoptions. The case's broader implications have even influenced laws surrounding child welfare and adoption transparency, leaving a legacy that will not soon be forgotten. And that brings us to the end of the curious case of Natalia Grace. But the mystery remains. Tonight's clue. Was Natalia really who she claimed to be? Could a different turn of events have changed everything? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe.